So do you think it's created this sort of nihilism that when you lie to you lie to a society for so long, and then it's just
Oh yeah,
becomes
nihilism is the number one. I mean, that's like, it's the old rant that American Hodl went on years ago, but calling the shitcoiners nihilist. It's true though. It's like, meme coins are very nihilistic. The fact that the president of the United States, the day before he took office, launched a meme coin and rug pulled just a bunch of people. I don't think nobody blinked an eye. Nobody thought it's not talked about anymore. He's not gonna be held accountable for it. But that is only because we're so nihilistic right now.
Hey everybody, this is the High Hash Rate Podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Dan.
And this podcast is just two plebs getting high and talking about Bitcoin, life, and the absurdity of the fiat world. Our guests don't necessarily get high with us, and you don't have to either.
But it helps. Welcome back to High Hash Rate. We made it. We made it back. It's been since what? October of last year. So
13th
it was.
was our last recording.
Okay, so yeah, it was.
Actually, no. We had our little outside deal that it's going to be released before this episode.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But yeah, so that was all still before the election, and we all know what happened in the election. We talked about it leading up to it. I think I don't remember the political conversations we were having back then, but either way, a lot has happened. I don't think anybody expected what's going on right now in politics, which is Trump is just like super focused. He's not, just getting in Twitter fights and like battling out. He's just doing whatever he wants. New headline every day. And it's weird. It's kind of crazy.
Did you hear this like clip of him, like an Afghani lady was like,
yeah,
what are you going to do to like recognize the Taliban, or but she has like a thick accent.
No, he goes like, he's like, you have a beautiful accent. I'm sure you have a beautiful, beautiful story. But your accent, while it's beautiful,
unfortunately,
I can't understand you, but peace be with you. That's just
next question.
Right. That's like the man has answered every crazy goddamn question that has been asked of him. Or like, just like the debates and interviews, the good ones and the bad ones. They've impeached him. He's been shot. They tried to sue him. They're trying to throw him in jail. They tried to like take him off the ballots. And listen, I'm not like a Trump supporter.
Are you a Trump supporter?
No, like I'm not a Trump supporter. But what I will say is, at this point, he's answered enough questions. So if you have a boring question, or you're just trying to ask like something, like it's not like, what does it matter what Trump thinks about Afghanistan anymore? Like, who cares? They're shooting rocket launchers on TikTok, but like they're not planning 9/11s anymore. So I feel like just you don't got to deal with that one. Just move on to the next one.
I keep thinking like, well, especially back then, I was thinking like, she's gonna win. I just felt like we're gonna end up.
Oh, you did? You thought that?
Yeah, I felt like we're gonna end up in that alternate reality.
No, I never did. I think I've been. I don't know if I said it on here, but I've been saying it I was like, if he goes into the primary, he's gonna win the Republican primary because the Republicans are so weak. Like nobody, maybe DeSantis, because Florida like was crushing it as the like Republican thing during COVID, because it was like, you don't have to wear a mask, there's no COVID lockdowns, blah blah blah. But did he like Trump steamrolled him once he went into the primary? He didn't even go to the debates. I was like, oh yeah, like if he came back from like if whatever they said he did, the coup, the January 6th, if he comes back from all of that, then I think that people are just they're giving up. It's like, dude, like, we can't stop Trump anymore. He's still coming. The dude has cardio for days. It's like in the UFC, like this, it's the 19th round, and this dude's not even sweating, and you're gassed. And people are just like, all right, dude, whatever. The economy, it's not that bad. He's not that bad. We survived the first 4 years. We can get through the next 4 years. I don't know if we can get through the next 4 years with the Kamala and the Democrats. They seem as tired as me from having to deal with Trump. They're gonna get steamrolled, and that's what happened.
How do you think he got all this power? Like the power to be able to, like, basically the invincibility mode on, Goldeneye. He just like walks around, takes
Because
shots.
he is definitely abrasive. He says, like, things that even if they're true, just like, I don't care. It doesn't offend me. I think it's funny most of the time. But some people, they just can't handle that. And, yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that, but I'm sorry, I'm stoned. This is high hash rate. I do go off on those tangents sometimes.
Well, I think he's become like sort of a mythical creature in a bit of sense. Like when you think back on something like a Caesar or an Alexander the Great, the names that pop up in history, I start to wonder like where does Trump fit in that
Well, yeah, okay.
human timeline?
Here's what it boils down to for me. We're finding this out. So, like, one of the big things in the news this week is that Elon Musk, and this is, I swear to God, an accurate description of what he's doing. It's like him and a dozen, like, 21-year-old, 19, a few teenagers. They're super autistic. They're probably all taking a shitload of Adderall, and they're going around with Elon Musk, like, building the building. And they went to US Aid, and US Aid is just like this weird, small, it's pretty small overall. Uh, uh,
Oh, it's
Government agency that is
USAID.
US, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But
Or they,
it's disguised to
yes,
sound like a charity.
USAID. Yeah,
Of
sure.
course, that's what it is. But it's not really a charity at all. It's like a weird thing where they launder money for the, intelligence agencies launder
And that's
money.
all
The
coming
defense
out.
industry launders money to,
Yeah.
well, I mean, the point of that thing is to, like, it's programs that are supposed to, like, counter Chinese influence in Africa or in any other region. But either way, what they were spending, like, we're finding out that they were spending all this money on was, programs and, like, puppet shows for non-binary puppets in, like, Nigeria. And, like, yeah, like, Sesame
Big market
Street,
for
like,
that.
Elmo went to talk about, uh, genders and stuff in, like, Serbia on, like, a special tour, and they were buying, like, Politico. They were basically propping up the website for politics called Politico, which was just is just like the internet CNN. It's
Yeah.
just stupid. But, um, and I mean, I think people are looking at that, they're like, they know what the CIA, they know what the defense industry is really doing. They're fucking around with shit overseas. And it's like, if we're gonna be spending like $1 billion a year to try to, like, further American interests, counter Chinese influence, whatever you want to say, I don't think that's, sending like tickle me, non-binary tickle me Elmo to Kenya for the kids in Kenya is a better use of that money than Elon Musk and like 20 autistic teenagers on Adderall, just like, you know, spreading memes on Facebook, like community places.
So it seems like the Twitter has kind of merged you know, with the America's message in a way.
Who merged?
Like X
Oh,
itself has
oh,
has
yeah, yeah.
like the message of America is now coming
Well,
through
Elon
Twitter
Musk basically
specifically.
had to buy it.
Yeah.
When he says it's like, about free speech, he cares about free. I'm going to spend $40 billion to protect free speech.
You
Yada yada
believe
yada.
that?
It sounds nice. I think that he believes that at least to a good extent. And I think that that was definitely part of what gave him the it's risky to try to say I'm going to spend $40 billion to buy this social media app that is bleeding money. It's never really been a valuable company. It's just full of like the most toxic people in the world screaming at each other all the time, and politicians and like Russian bots. Like that's a risky thing to buy and then take private, and then it's like the value's collapsing. He's like not making any money on it. It's like it's if he I don't think if I'm sure he has ulterior motives, and I think we can talk about those because they're very obvious at this point. But I still don't think that he would only buy that and go through that much risk for the ulterior motives. I think he does care about free speech as part of the package for why he did it. Now, it's clear that like that's not the only thing he cares about, um, or even cares about the most, because well, I don't know if he did it, but he learned, if you don't censor people, you get more honesty. And if you get more honesty, the data that you are able to feed into your AI algorithm, language model, or whatever you're using for like analytics to understand, everybody over like, what is the mood and the topic? What do people really think? What are people really doing? Well, if they're not censored, you're going to get more honesty. I mean, that honesty might be pretty bad, but it's honesty. And so he had better data than Facebook and all these other, platforms. Uh, so then he like jumps on the bandwagon with Trump. Well, why do you think he jumped on the bandwagon with Trump? Do you think it's because he really, really, really admires Trump, like he says, and like has come along or come around? Or is it because he had the data to know that, oh, way more people support him than we thought?
Mhm. Oh, you think
But
that
then we realize, and like
that was the turn of events?
the mood, the conversation is turning very
Mhm.
drastically in his favor. At least much more than, the average person kind of thinks. And you know that, right? Like, because he won the first election against Hillary, like he was way down the polls because they were afraid to say that they support him. Like whether it was, they weren't afraid they were going to get arrested for it, but
Socially
they didn't want people to know. It was like a social
yeah,
thing.
social
But
pariah
then he
if
won
you
and it
admit it.
surprised everybody. And so people thought that was going to happen again in 2020, and it didn't. He lost. We could go into the 2020 thing. The fact of the matter is, either people and or the deep state didn't want him to win, so he didn't win. Doesn't matter what, do you think the votes were. The system did not want him to win, so he didn't win. And it was a little testy. But anyways, here we are now. And still, I think we're underestimating how popular he is right now and how he is becoming. And I think the danger is that he is being like very bold, very decisive, very effective, at least on the surface. And a lot of people just seem to be kind of supporting it, and then like it gets out of control. I don't know. I don't actually think he's going to turn into like Hitler or the next dictator, but Trump probably gets a little too cocky, which he seems like he is, and just does something really stupid, like say we're going to occupy Gaza, which he just said. Yeah. So it's like maybe maybe his like, Hitler's big mistake was he he started the war on both fronts. He was fighting Western Europe and he was fighting the Russians, right? And it was too much and they got caved in and they got obliterated. Same thing Napoleon did. He tried to fight a war on two fronts. Is Trump going to is I'm not saying Trump's going to necessarily start the next world war. In fact, he probably is the least likely one to have, let that happen. But his, two front battle is going to be like trying to fix the United States and trying to bring peace to the Middle East. Can't do both of those things.
I think he's certainly done I mean, from what I've seen, I can't speak for, like, any personal, you know, effect that has had, but I know my feed has changed quite a bit since he's come into office, and that's interesting just to see. But it goes into this bigger idea of like an age of truth, of all these things to be revealed, JFK files to be unveiled, the P Diddy files, the Epstein files, the all this stuff sort of deals with the unveiling, this truth coming to light. And
Yeah. And
I was I was
go
just
ahead.
afraid that if Kamala was, to come in office, that we would just see we would totally bifurcate. Like it just would. There's no way I think we could ever come back from that.
Right. And I think almost maybe ironically that it seems like we have gotten to the point where, yes, we're going to get like, I guess, documents that say what really happened with JFK, what happened with COVID and Fauci and with, I think there's other ones like 9/11. They're going into 9/11. They're going into everything. But, Diddy, like you said, but I don't think anything that they find matters anymore because I think just the fact that everybody kind of just agrees now, okay, unload those confidential files
Yes.
because whatever you're saying, we don't believe you.
Yes.
Whatever these conspiracies we thought we had, there's something to them. It
Yes.
may not be exactly what we thought it was. It may not be exactly what was on the covers of the memes, but it's probably close. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's, what are we going to learn once we get in there that we don't already know? So, like, we just found out that USAID has been spending billions of dollars trying to make people gay, non-binary,
Sending condoms
whatever. Like, just
to
trying,
Gaza.
yeah, like, but maliciously, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, well, yeah, we know that, and now you just got to look around and be like, we already knew that. Of course, we knew that. We already knew that. We already knew. The meme is, did Bush do 9/11? Well, it depends on what you mean. If you just mean like the government was so lazy and apathetic and then like just asleep at the wheel, not taking them, not taking their duties seriously. It's just a big corrupt system. Because of that, nobody paid attention to the fact that dudes were like training to do 9/11, in like 4 different cities. It's like, did their negligence or just like, was it like, yeah, it's their fault that it happened. Doesn't mean that they planned it themselves, but like, what's the difference at this point?
Well, there is a difference between a plane flying into a building and then, speculation on a missile being shot into a
Oh
building,
yeah, I mean, you
and
can
then
go,
later.
but I don't think like I don't think that the message at this point is, was it a missile? Was it a plane? Was it, who was flying the plane? Was it a
Yeah.
military plane? Who shot?
Yeah.
At this point, it doesn't matter. It's been so many decades. All we, but we already know as
You've been lied.
as a country, right? Like that it was one of those things. It
Yeah.
wasn't what they told us. It was just
Okay,
one
you
of those
you
other
fuckers
things
lied.
in one of these different orders. And like they've been psyoping us and covering it up since. We go in, we dig it out, and like some people are like, all right, finally, I have the answer. I was right. It was fucking the Jews or whatever. You know what I mean? Like somebody online will be super hyped to be able to say, I called it. That's why they were hiding, whatever. But at the end of the day, back then we didn't want to tolerate the conspiracies. Like nobody wanted to admit that their government would do that. That
How
their
could I mean,
pe-
how
the
could they?
the troops were patriots. We got to fight terrorism. We are obviously good, and obviously only evil from the other side of the planet could do this to us. And now we're like, oh no, dude, the government would definitely do this to us. They are trying to turn us gay. They are trying to make us fat. They are trying to get us sick so they can sell us medicine. They are trying to crank up the price of insulin. And then they're also trying to give us sugar and pop and candy. So we need insulin so they can jack the price up even higher. It's like, yeah, they are doing that to us.
And so it kind of takes all these like internet sleuth, emergent people that come up to expose this thing, because back then, you know, you have you have the video footage that comes up on CNN, everyone's watching the same damn thing, and we all sort of get hypnotized into the same story.
Right. And no
So now
and
there's just
nobody wants to be like in polite company. And somebody introduces you and you're like, this dude's really into InfoWars and Alex Jones. It's like, come on, man. Like, it's like it's funny sometimes. I listen. It's like I don't believe it. I'm not QAnon. But at the same time, it's a lot of people, if you bring up any of those topics, that's like immediately like what you get associated with. And there's a lot of pressure to, I don't know. Some people think it's the CIA trying to do it. I think it's really just the result of society being like, we don't want, this is the narrative we're trying to stick to, but we're willing to believe. And you're saying some stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable, and we don't want to deal with that right now. But now everybody's so uncomfortable. That's like, yeah, what other conspiracy theories do you have? Because I think that this shit is fucked up, and there's got to be an explanation.
and I also think that the release of Ross is so pivotal as well inside of this story of this sort of age of truth that I'm talking about. It's like because this dude, what did he do? He created something that was he basically gave Bitcoin a use. It's like a use case in a big way. And by doing so, he probably understood the truth factor, or like what this money could actually do, or what it actually means to be able to control your own money. And by locking him up, I mean, that was obviously a very clear sign to anyone, don't try this, don't expose anything like this truth. This is our truth to expose, not yours. And so his release is part of this big narrative, I think, that's this wave of truth that's coming in. I mean, I think,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I
it's
think
got a lot of play, but I think it's underplayed in the context of history, and how it's like, I think those things go
yeah,
hand in
and
hand.
I think the friction and or the stress in the system, so to speak, or like where it's like the difficulties, the conflict it's going to cause in society and families and relationships or whatever, whenever politics at least is the topic of discussion, is that some people, half the people, when you say like we're entering this age of truth, they are super relieved. They're stoked about it. And the other half is going kicking like they do not want the truth exposed. And it's not everybody. I don't make the distinction, but I think it's not like this centralized plot that I've like, it's more of a lot of people have a lot of regrets and things that they did, and they don't want to dwell on it. They don't want to bring it to the surface because they're guilty. It's not that they're like trying to like enforce some global conspiracy. It's just like they don't want the truth to be exposed because their ass is going to be exposed with it.
Grass. I mean, that's my entire family is in that camp, I think. They're My entire family is posting memes on the opposite side of, like, Trump let go, a murderer, that's someone who, hired a hitman to kill
Right.
these
Well,
dudes and
yeah,
was a drug dealer,
it's
and it's just crazy to think that, you know, they're out there thinking these things and, like,
well, Trump, I like not as like an intentional action, but just by the nature of who he is and the way people respond to him, the way politics and the system responded to him when he first became president, exposes truth. about other people, about the system, right? And that's what kind of he was doing at the beginning, right? Where he's like saying, Hillary's bashing me with all these things about evading taxes, etc. But it's like her donors are the ones that wrote those laws. She pushed for them. Well, they give her money. That's what they're all doing. She's taking money and associating and relying on people who do the same thing. She's just basically accusing me of being, unfit to be president because I do that. And there was a bunch of different cases like that, where it's just like the spoke in the wheel that like everybody starts to pay really close attention to politics because Trump is just so insane, and whether it's anxiety of what he's going to do, or they're giddy because they want to see what he's going to do next, or it's just a freak show they can't turn away from, or just the TV, every channel's talking about it. Is now everybody's paying really close attention because everything Trump does, they think it could be the end of the world or the best thing ever. But just by nature of that attention being paid, right? Now everybody's seeing how corrupt the Bureau of Labor is, the Department of Health, the CDC, because they're just paying so much attention, because of that attention that Trump drew to it. Not for good reasons either, not because he was doing good or, doing well last time, right? And that's just kind of what's happening again, except for what was kind of the headwind for him to do that was he does have a bad rap sheet. He's a gross dude. He's a fucking smarmy dude. He's not trustworthy.
Used car
He's a
salesman, man.
dick.
He's the used car salesman.
Yeah, he's a sexual harasser. He's probably a sexual abuser based on the definitions and the way they framed it. Yeah, he probably did that. Are we going to pretend that billionaires don't get to grab more pussies than regular people? I'm not saying that doing that isn't, abuse, but if you're a billionaire and they do let you, it's just a little different. It's just a little different. That's all he was saying. That's all he was saying. It's just like the dude's like, hey, I'm just saying. But he's been through all of that. They've litigated everything. They've called him Hiller. They said he was paying porn stars. They said he lied about this. They impeached him. He's a felon. He's a convicted felon, right? But he was still popular after that. So they ran out of things. And so now there's a million corrupt, hypocritical people, or like all the other politicians. None of them are any better in most ways than Trump is. He's just very honest, I guess, about it, for better or worse. So now it's just like when the truth is being exposed, right? Like everybody's trying to say, well, the person exposing me is a hypocrite, so you shouldn't listen to them or whatever. But now it's like you can't point to Trump and say like, oh, he's such an asshole. He's an adjudicated rapist. We've heard that before, but you're still corrupt, and we're going to learn about it because you've been hiding it. We know about his. You've been hiding yours, so we're going to find out yours.
You think like something like the Me Too movement was a lefty sort of ploy, or is it part of this age of truth?
Right. Like that's part of the age of truth too, right? Because obviously there was a lot of people who took some strays, who were collateral damage, and who got crucified.
I'm thinking of like Louis C.K. being
right.
one of these.
It's and not that they. It's
Didn't do
similar to Ross.
something.
Like, so the people at the beginning of the Me Too movement, like Louis C.K. is like kind of like Ross. It's like it was early, big target, big headlines, make an example of him, set the tone, and then a lot of people were doing the same thing and were way less bad, not even related to what Ross was doing. Just people like Diddy and Epstein were doing way worse things. And like they're not getting in trouble for that, right? So,
Not yet, man.
but like they're not getting double life sentences. So it's, did Ross break the law? Yeah, the laws like as they were written, yeah. But no worse than anybody else. So like Louis C.K. did was it what he did worse than a lot of other people? Probably not. But there's a whole bunch of other comedians who got like almost no um cancel or like career that got affected, even though they did way worse shit. But the the point of it was to like raise the fact that that kind of shit does happen, and it is a problem. I mean, they blame it. Women might, or not women, but the Me Too movement will go on, blogs and Twitter and have in the news and blame a bunch of shit, and they have a stupid argument. But you know, there was a reason that problem had to boil over, had to be a huge discussion and argument in society for a few years, and then everybody kind of just settled on a consensus and moved on. And we're gonna like settle on this consensus about trans sports and trans people and pronouns and who can be in the military. We're gonna it's already happening. It's already kind of settling down. Trump's basically taking all these things out, and then probably in the next few years, nobody's gonna be like fighting to get that stuff back in. It'll just kind of
I'm
level out.
thinking
We'll
like,
forget about it. You know what I mean?
when was that switch though? You I'm
I mean, I
trying
don't
to
think
think
you can
about
like
it.
narrow it down to like an hour or a day. It's a slow evolution. I mean, it probably hit its peak around COVID and started
That's
to come
probably it.
down. Yeah.
No, I think COVID was the switch. I think
Yeah,
it
but not like the beginning of COVID. More of like
like,
instead, you know, not that initial lockdown and all the craziness and everything, right? Like that
that
is
was
part of
nuts.
it, but it's really like a couple years later
I
when we
mean,
started to realize it was all, you know, this was all bullshit.
we're all like putting on these fucking masks outside, walking around, can't see each other, can't go out, don't even want to go outside, afraid to go outside. The You get your food delivered to you, you clean it. This is what I used to do, is clean that shit with fucking Clorox. All of
God,
my
I
fucking
never,
stuff
I don't think I
cleaned
ever,
with Clorox fucking wipes. I have like a, less than a 1-year-old running around the house, scared out of my mind. What is about to happen? And as you come out of that, it's really like it's like coming out of like a ditty party. Yeah. Like, you
no,
just like, what happened to me?
it's trauma. It's definitely trauma. PTSD, trauma. Um, some people will like resist that and be like, "Oh, I never fell for the scam."
I
It's like
fell hard for the fucking
most people
scam.
did, but even when you came out of it, like a lot of people came out of it really quick and was like, "All right, this is a scam. Got me for like a week, but this is a scam." But then, their trauma was the fact that they had to exist in this really intensely scary world where everybody really believed in this COVID psyop and was like very willing to throw other people under the bus or just like accept really crazy restrictions, etc., because they were scared of the psyop, right? And you had to like exist around like all these people who were NPCs, and you're like, holy
I
fuck,
wasn't.
because the NPCs will turn on me. What if they turn on me? But I know it's all a scam. And that kind of gets bigger and bigger. But at the end of the day, everybody came out of it with trauma.
I mean, I was like a block away from the BLM riots in LA, watching dudes walk down my street with, these signs, with masks on, ready to go fight the good fight. The 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 fucking sky was orange from the fires that were going on at that time. Not to mention the fires that just happened. You think, you know, and you're like a new father, and you're thinking like, what world have I brought this child into? Like, is if you said earlier, like Trump says something and people are looking at him to say it's the best thing ever or it's the end of the world. I mean, is it's incredible the amount of power that this system has managed to, grab hold of, that it can
But
sway
think about
people in
it.
that way.
Think about for a second is like, where is that power? Who has that power? Or like, what is the lever of power? Like, where does it exist here? Because,
Social media, I would say.
no, listen, well, my point is
Sure.
everybody's hanging on every word that Donald Trump says right now. Is it because it's Donald Trump, or is it because he's the US president? Right? Because you should think like a month ago, it didn't matter what the US president or vice president said.
Because it wasn't him saying
Nobody
it.
took it serious. Nobody cared. Nobody paid attention. It didn't matter. But that was still the presidency. He was still the president. He still controlled, so we thought, the nuclear codes. So and I think this is what like liberals and Democrats are so worried about with Trump, is that whatever limitations are on the office of the presidency, with Biden, that didn't matter because there was countless people throughout the quote unquote deep state, was just basically anybody in the federal government that had some power in the positions they were in. And they didn't, we thought that Biden was making those decisions, but really it was like Terry at the CIA. And whatever they wanted from Biden, like it didn't matter because like Biden couldn't do it for them. He couldn't like even execute it. He couldn't even like follow through anyway. And now Trump's in here. But either way, there was still a lot of power that rested in Biden being president. But now Trump's in power, and he's got all the power Biden had, but way more.
Yeah, you got the people.
So it's not really. I mean, he was signing a ton of executive orders last time. Nothing happened because nobody did anything. Now people are like doing stuff, and I think that's why like liberals are worried. It's like people are gonna go January 6th again for Trump if he wants them to, and that you're probably right. It just depends on what happens, because if he wants people to go, charge, show up, protest, take over, overthrow it, they'll try. They're just jealous that they don't got a president. If they told them to do that, people would be like, nah, I'm good.
I think the only thing that pulled me out of this like madness was not just Bitcoin, but it was the community. You know, that that's sort of because in a big way it's a mirror. I think it's been described as a mirror in a lot of ways. Just because it's Bitcoin, you can use it however you want to. So it sort of reflects your own passions or desires. And when you look at the community of Bitcoin, they reflect back at you either the ugliness that you have or the beauty that you have, or because of the truth they wish to tell. I think there's something there. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah,
I would
like
just say that's
yeah,
what pulled me out of it.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, Bitcoin or the community, a combination of the both. But a lot of people, they found a podcast, or they found a book, or they just found it on the internet. They found it through the memes, and they just went down the rabbit hole. And if it's like back with like I said, Trump, like the way you respond to Trump, um, or just the way he makes people respond to him, it exposes things where it's like COVID was a pretty turbulent, scary time for various reasons for different people. And at the time, it was like, this is not the type of situation or crisis that Trump was really, we need him to be president for. Like he's not the guy that can handle a crisis like this or whatever. He didn't really handle it well. Like, I guess it could have been worse, but he didn't handle it well. So like people voted for Biden because they're like, all right, everything before Trump is kind of normal. We'll go back to that, any of that, just not Trump. We want to go back to normal. Biden, Democrats, Obama was great. That's what we thought. Let's do that. And then Biden gets in and he's like got dementia and it's just a bunch of like crazy woke DEI, whatever you want to call it, people running the whole thing. And one of the, and then you find Bitcoin, you're like, this is dependable, verify, it's got all these qualities, security, stability,
Yeah.
privacy, when you name it. And we got none of that out here.
Accountability.
In accountability. Nobody wants to take accountability for anything in the government. Nobody, the money, all this money, obviously my savings comes down to, what these dipshits in Washington who are trying to turn the frogs gay and put fluoride, make us fat, give us diabetes, turn us woke. This is what they're also the people that are managing the money right now and the economy, and they can't manage anything else. Well, I need something better. So they find Bitcoin. And then through Bitcoin, you start to find other people who got it. And that's really just like whether they're orange pilled or it's just like somebody who also had the same realization that they had to take personal responsibility. And so, that's how the network started growing.
And you start to, I certainly start to think back about all the content I used to consume back then. I was a big fan of like John Oliver. I was a big fan of John Oliver and Jon Stewart, Daily Show, and Stephen Colbert. Can't believe I couldn't think of it. Steve Colbert. So I was a big fan of I was a big fan of these shows that they would produce. John Oliver had,
You were like consuming nothing but CIA content.
yeah, this is what's sort of fucking crazy about to think about that.
That's why you were such a pussy during COVID. You were just doing nothing but reading CIA psyops for years, and you loved it.
Well, I thought it was funny. They would make fun of Trump. They would, you mentioned something back there about turning the frogs gay. That was like a famous quote from InfoWars and Alex Jones. And he was, emphatic about saying turning the frogs gay. The water, they're putting stuff that turns the frogs gay. And that little line snipped out, of course, put onto the Colbert Show, and he just, or it was John Oliver, and they ripped him apart for it.
Oh yeah.
And that stuff, it just kept on, you start to have all these like memories of the things that you heard back in the day of being, truth.
Right.
You think of like, that's like, what is this other side of thought that, it's just crazy. These people are crazy.
Yeah. I think you asked when that turning point was, and I think for everybody, it just happened at different times. It was when you realized that, oh my God, they are turning the frogs gay. And if they're turning the frogs gay, what else are they doing?
What else are they
Because
turning gay?
everybody, there was no way. It was kind of like, yeah, I'll believe that when pigs fly. It's like, all right, if I'm willing to admit that they are turning the frogs gay, I'm probably ready to admit a lot of things.
There's a tweet circulating around about it shows like a cow floating in the air. It's just floating there. He's like, normally I would ask questions, but since the last 3 years, I just decided to keep driving just because.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There is very few things you could, yeah, like they come out and they say, "Hey, tomorrow we're gonna have a huge press conference. Aliens are real, and we're gonna show you one." And people were like, "All right, whatever." Like, and then they just went on to make memes like about aliens, like the alien. I'm gonna fuck the aliens, or I wonder if the aliens will like to listen to Bitcoin podcasts. And it's like they didn't care.
So do you think it's created this sort of nihilism then?
Oh,
When you
100%.
when you lie
I
when
don't
you
think
lie to
we have ever.
you lie to a society for so long, and then it
Oh,
just
yeah,
becomes.
nihilism is the number one. I mean, that's like it's the old rant that American Hodl went on years ago, but calling the shitcoiners nihilist. It's true,
Mhm,
though. It's like it is meme coins are very nihilistic. The
mhm.
fact that the fact that
Wow.
the president of the United States, the day before he took office, launched a meme coin and rug pulled just a bunch of people. There's no he's not gonna report that on his taxes. Um, and
Did you sell any
and
crypto?
nobody, I don't think nobody blinked an eye. Nobody thought it's not talked about anymore. He's not gonna be held accountable for it. But that is only because we're so nihilistic right now that as a society, that's the only way that's possible.
Yeah, man.
But
I
that's the
wonder,
problem,
like.
right? Because it's like how I mean, we look at Gaza. It's without getting into who's right or who's wrong. Gaza is a horrific. What has happened there in the past year and a half is horrific. You know, for most, there a lot of people tragically killed, impacted, whatever. Horrible. And not only that, it was like broadcast in HD. Every like blown up baby, every like assassinated person, every like whatever happened. Like the October 7th itself, like they're parading people around the Israelis, and then the response, like all of that broadcast a million times on the timeline. Most of the time it's not blurred anymore because it's just like, some blogger. And everybody saw that. They saw the Ukraine stuff, all the bodies, all the trench warfare. And now it's just like Ukraine flag in bio, opinion doesn't matter. If they were so nihilistic. And people are getting
uh,
set on fire on the subway. People are
it's like a
setting
s
themselves on
uh,
fire at the
oh, that's right.
the embassies in DC.
I believe that's called a self-owning meme.
The dude like assassinated the CEO of the healthcare company, and
That's
like
right.
it was just like a meme about how hot Luigi
Cybertruck
was.
blew
You
up.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, yeah. It's we're numb. But on the bright side, if they ever tried to do like the COVID lockdowns or like the social distancing, they ever tried to do any of that again,
Mhm.
absolutely would get ratioed on
Yeah.
Twitter, and nobody would do a goddamn thing they said.
So it has made us stronger in some respect.
But at what
I mean,
cost?
well,
Well, I
the
mean,
cost.
that is the cost, right? If you're gonna really have free speech, you're gonna you're gonna have
You
to
have to
get
exit the matrix,
you're gonna
basically.
have to just kind of tune out or keep scrolling when you see like dudes that are like, this is why I think Adolf Hitler is the best man alive or best man to ever live. It's like, all right, got to keep scrolling here because then you're gonna get the one where it's like, actually, I think Mao Zedong or whatever or Joseph Stalin is Brat. It's like, all right, I got to keep scrolling here. Let me go to the timeline where everybody's just posting Bitcoin memes. It's a lot.
I mean, I
It's a
recently
lot less
spoke about
crazy.
this. I spoke about this on the Bugle recently because they had me on, and basically summed up like, we are in that matrix question. Like, if you take the red pill, you have to deal with all of basically it makes you stronger because you understand truth, but you have to deal with the reality. And that's a hard, do I want to eat that steak and wish I could just go back? You start to think, what was I before and what have I become?
Right. You have to deal with the fact that in 2025, the person you tried to orange pill in 2020 is texting you again and asking your opinion on XRP.
Oh my God, it
And you're
happened.
like,
It has happened. Yes.
and you have to like deal with it. That there's these that people are still gonna buy Doge and XRP, and they're gonna shitcoin, and they're gonna all the things where you're like, there's no way that people are gonna fuck up. They're gonna make this mistake again, and they are. But because you are orange pilled, you will not make any mistakes.
Well, here's an admission. I don't know if I'm fully orange pilled or ever will be.
Yeah. I thought for the longest time you were like way more, and then towards the end you're like, I'm not even orange pilled, man.
I don't even know, man. I've taken microdosing here and there. Uh, I mean, I certainly don't shitcoin anymore, and I understand the dangers of doing that. But I say that, and then I'll take a breath before I admit what I'm about to say, and get all of the hate that I'm sure I deserve. But I see this MicroStrategy thing, and I'm like, should I shitcoin again? Should I give it a try again? Is it a shitcoin? You know, well, does it have all the properties of shitcoin? Well, some of it is properties of shitcoin. Yeah, I mean, it's like control. I don't have access to that. This kind of money. It's not money. I can't send it. But I took a dip. I dipped a toe, and I
So
tried it out.
you're a MicroStrategy guy now.
I've tried it out. Yeah,
Just
and
tried it out. What
I've tried it out.
did you? I'm gonna guess you lost money, didn't you?
No, no. I mean,
No.
I'm sort of even keel. It's
No, I've got, dude. I've got um, I got a bunch of MicroStrategy in my like IRA. My dad. Here's the thing. I'm not telling anybody to buy MicroStrategy. I don't feel guilty about buying MicroStrategy. You shouldn't feel guilty about buying MicroStrategy. But I know personally that the MicroStrategy. Well, I up pretty big because I bought it pretty low. But I also bought a lot when it was higher too. So I'm not like completely all in early. But here's the thing. I know that's a pretty risky one. And like it could go well or I could be fucking pissed. But I got,
yes,
whatever. And I'm not telling people to buy MicroStrategy. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm kind of rolling the dice with it, thinking
yes.
maybe it
It's a
will.
gamble.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will go up. But
Yeah.
and my dad, I tried to tell my dad not to do this. My dad, he has Bitcoin, he's good, but he just unloaded tons from his IRAs, his retirement accounts, and he is retired. And he got big. He's like he's on the MicroStrategy Reddit. He's sending me videos. He's like reading 20 articles a day. He's watching he's getting like, he's going through the ups and downs. He gets like really bearish and like, he's like, Michael Saylor's fucking up. He's buying too much Bitcoin too fast. He's like diluting the shares. I'm like, that's what he said he was going to do. We had an hour-long conversation about this where I told you not to buy more MicroStrategy because you don't know what Saylor's doing and you're not going to know. You don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
And he said he agreed, he's like, you're right. And then he went and bought like tens of thousands of dollars more
Wow.
of MicroStrategy, like, when it was going up. Either way, he's still doing fine. But I'm like, damn it, Dad. told you to just get the hardware wallets and put it on there, and you went and you got it. But we both did. We both degened on MicroStrategy. I
It's a
don't
bit
feel
of a
guilty,
degen,
but here's
though.
the thing: I don't feel guilty about it. I'm not saying
I
anybody else should do it,
somewhat
but like if
guilty.
you do it, don't feel guilty about it. Just do it.
I feel somewhat guilty, you know.
Why? Why do you feel
As,
guilty? You were buying
look,
the bugle thing. You were talking about buying like beautiful babe NFTs.
oh well, yeah, okay.
That's
But that's a former life.
something to feel guilty about.
That's like I
Not
found the Jesus. You know, I found Jesus. I accept Jesus Christ. You know, I eliminate shitcoins from my life. I get rid of all of this nonsense, and I accept Bitcoin in a beautiful way. And I understand. You know, I understand like why everyone's so you know maxi about it. But this part, you know, this little purchase, it's I feel guilty about it because it's, you know, I never wanted to pose as a max. I don't think I could consider myself a max because again, I'm like on a scale. I think of it like Christianity. Like you have to, it's on a scale. You know, there's a certain amount of Christian you are, and that's or Jew or whatever. You know, depending on the amount of sins that you wish to participate in or not.
yeah.
Or in the Jewish case, it's like how many Jewish laws do you wish to abide by or honor? You know, if you don't wish to abide by this many, then you're this less of a Jew. You know, the same thing applies in Bitcoin. It's like you can never reach this. Satoshi is the Jesus Christ. You know, if you will.
Yeah.
But we're all trying to like attain that
Yeah,
goal
but
of
if you pay attention for 5 minutes anymore, you
which is
realize
hard for me.
that I mean, look at it. It's like it took like 2 days for Ross to get out of prison, and like people are like all over the timeline, like Ross is a shit corner. He sold some NFT. Sailor's a shit corner. Blah 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 blah. It's like it doesn't matter how how much you purify whatever you're talking about here. Like I have to purge shit coins from my life, purge the pretty lady NFTs.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you do that or not. If you do it, just do it because you don't want the shit coins anymore. You're
Yeah,
like
that's true.
done gambling,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
you're done collecting weird things that your wife doesn't know the private key to your pretty lady NFT wallet, whatever it is you were doing here. Um, not because you don't want, plate licking hodl or Predator, Ghost of Dick Whitman. You don't want them to call you a shitcoiner.
Oh, I have to tell you.
Who cares? They're gonna call you a shitcoiner no matter what you do.
Can I show the dog? I got a dog. This is like bigger than having
That's
a child.
exactly what you needed was more
Responsibility.
responsibility and time
Yo,
commitment.
check this guy out,
Oh yeah.
lady.
Is that
It's
that's like it doesn't shed, no
a
hyperallergenic.
multi-poo, yeah. A multi-poo?
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured you'd have if you had a dog.
Fuck you. Fuck you did. Oh, shit. But, you know, the story is, you know, heartwarming. It's a heartwarming story.
Did you steal that dog? Like its
Yeah.
owner's house burned down and you got it?
Back in
That's cool.
Malibu, I was strolling around Malibu looking for
Well, if you found it in Malibu, then at least you
no,
know
no, no,
it's
no.
got all its
It was a text
shots.
message from a teacher. We were talking about getting a dog, and then it's like you didn't want to look around for one, and there you go. But shit has changed. That's just what I'm saying. It's like you start to take on more responsibility. I have definitely realized like how I've been on the operating system that I've been on for a good portion of my life is pretty much the wrong it's like an old operating system, very, very archaic. Needed to get out. So, you know, you wake up from all that and then you're like, God, what? I have to do this and this. I have to learn this and I have to learn that. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
I don't know.
lot. It's a lot. You know what else is a lot?
What's that?
Kids and a dog. So if you can stick to that, you can figure out how to use a hardware wallet and a node.
I got to get the node down. I start 9. I got to get a start 9.
No.
No,
You're
don't
like
get a start 9.
listen. First of all, I don't want
Okay.
people to think that it's because Start 9's not a good product.
It's not.
I have heard nothing but good things.
Okay.
My reason is because it's pretty expensive, and it's like for high powered, power users. It's like the first time you go skiing, don't spend $5,000 on like the clothes and the gear and the goggles. Just you can just do Bitcoin Core on your laptop, and with a hard drive, and connect it to your wallet and use
Can
it,
you
man.
really?
You do not need to spend. I mean, if you do eventually figure out how to connect to a node and actually send a Bitcoin transaction, you may continue to do that. And then you may you may be using it multiple times a day. You may be building a business off of it. And then you buy a Start 9. But start with a BTC Sessions tutorial on how to do it on your laptop and see if you can do that.
That's a good challenge.
What,
I'll take that challenge.
what did JD Vance, the vice president, they asked him, like, how are you going to deport all these millions of people? He said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time,
You
yeah.
just take one bite at a time, Mike. Just, figure out how to even download Bitcoin Core to your laptop and get it running. And find a hard drive, plug it in, and sync it, and then spend $1,000 on a node.
Is it really $1,000? Jesus.
I don't know. Again, I do not know enough about nodes for you to take my opinion seriously. Except for that Start 9 is good. It's just for power users.
Before we wrap up, I do, you know what I really wanted to do? I think I spoke about this a bit on the Bugle episode, but I do want to say, like, I don't know if it really matters, but some people that reached out was very happy about it. They wanted us to continue. It gave me personally because I just got burned out is what really happened. October came around. A lot of stuff had happened personally. I think I spoke about that. But I moved, had to get into a new spot, and everything just sort of blew up. And keeping up with the show just seemed very difficult to do. So I had to take a hiatus. And so now that we're back, I just want to, thank everyone that was supportive, and all the people that reached out and wanted to come on the show still, and wanted to see what we were doing. And, when are you guys coming back? So thank you guys.
The community brought you back.
That's true.
They brought you in, they brought you back. See? And that's the beauty of it, right? You don't even know how to use Bitcoin. You don't have Bitcoin. You don't know how to use it. You just like the memes and the podcasts.
That's right. I do.
And people still let you in the community. They welcome you back with open arms.
That's right.
But now that you know that people respect you, now it's time to respect yourself and learn how to set up your own node.
That's true, man. It's a good place to end it, probably. That I told you my hard drive totally failed, right? Yeah, I told you that.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, this is a good talk. We could probably wrap it up here. What have you been up to since we last?
We can get into that as we go on to the new 2025 High Hash Rate podcast. We're gonna be interviewing people. What have I been up to? Just working too hard, hanging out with my girlfriend. But I got like he said, I got theories. I've been thinking about Bitcoin in an interesting way since then. But
Have you? All right,
yeah, so
I look forward to hearing about
that's what we'll get into as we continue back on.
All right. I'll cut it. Thank you again for listening to the High Hash Rate podcast with Dan and Mike. If you want to learn more about the podcast and see what we're up to, you can find us at highhashrate.com. Or if you just want to speak to a couple of baked 80 IQ plebs, reach out to us at hello@highhashrate.com. Or you can reach out to us at the High Hash Rate handle on X. Later, everybody.
Holy Toledo!